Please forgive me if I seem too intimate today, but I venture to tell the truth about you and about me. You began as a living thread, microscopic, but it penetrated an egg 85,000 times as big as the thread, but microscopic. And the result, millions upon millions of miracles. For example, DNA was made, and it contains millions of instructions on how to make every part of you, from the hair on your head to your toenails, your livers, your kidney, your heart. All of that is found in the miracle that is the original you. You are made, and I am made, of 10,000 trillion cells. So says Bill Bryson in his book, A Short History, about nearly everything. But Bill is a very honest man, and he says no one really knows the exact number of cells, and authorities differ. But he suggests 10,000 trillion cells. These cells make you and make me exactly what we are. They enable us to think, to see, to smell, to hear, to walk, to jump, to dance, to caper, to digest, all because of these cells. And they defend us. Billions of them die every day defending you and me, because they make up the immune system. A cell is composed of millions of objects whizzing through. There's no gravity there. Some of them speed at the speed of bullets. There are enzymes there. An enzyme does 1,000 tasks a second. Scientists will tell you, such scientists as the man who wrote the cosmic jackpot, Davies, Paul Davies, that in every cell there are what we would call nanotechnology, objects so minute the microscope can't see them. Remember, one cell is smaller than a speck of dust, but in every cell there are levers, pumps, motors, rotors, propellers, all these things that you find in a workshop. But God made them, and they're so small you cannot see them. What a marvelous world. The cell has been compared to a refining chemical factory or to a teeming metropolis. It's neither, it's both. It's one and the other. It's a series of miracles. Now, Darwin never knew what I've told you. In his day, the best they could do with a light microscope was to enlarge something about 300 times. And when Darwin did that to a clump of cells, all he saw was a disordered mess. Just a clump of jelly. But now we know so much better. That's why we cannot think the way that Darwin thought. You are nothing but a collection of miracles. That's why you can see and think and jump and smell and hear. But something happened in the 1970s. some scientists pointed out the DNA in the nucleus of the cell was surrounded by a lot of other stuff, and scientists said this other stuff is junk. Here's a new scientist that recently appeared. You are junk. Now, it doesn't really believe that. When you read the article, it says to this effect that what was once thought junk in the nucleus of every cell surrounding the DNA is actually millions of on and off switches that control the genes. Now, it's very important to understand that. So you'll know I'm not inventing it. I want to read you a few things. First, as regards the cell itself. This is a great book, Evolution, A Theory in Crisis, by Michael Denton. He is a very fine man, very great scientist. We spoke together from the same platform in Wesley Theatre in Sydney some years ago. Both of us spoke about Genesis, he from a scientific viewpoint and me from a biblical theological viewpoint. And we were in thorough accord. I know this man to be a great and good man, and he has influenced millions. I want to read you what he said about the cell before we talk more about junk in the DNA system. So I'm reading to you what Michael Denton said about the cell. The complexity of the simplest known type of cell is so great that it's impossible to accept that such an object could have been thrown together suddenly by some kind of freakish, vastly improbable event. He says it's impossible. He's not speaking as a Christian, he's speaking as a scientist. Now listen to this. It comes from pages 328 forward. To grasp the reality of life, as it has been revealed by molecular biology, we must magnify a cell 1,000 million times until this 20 kilometers in diameter resembles a giant airship large enough to cover a great city like London or New York. What we would then see would be an object of unparalleled complexity and adaptive design. On the surface of the cell, we would see millions of openings, like the portholes of a vast spaceship, opening and closing to allow a continual stream of materials to flow in and out. If we were to enter one of these openings, we would find ourselves in a world of supreme technology and bewildering complexity. We would see endless, highly organized corridors, conduits branching in every direction away from the perimeter of the cell, some leading to the central memory bank in the nucleus, others to assembly plants and processing units. The nucleus itself would be a vast spherical chamber, more than 1 kilometer in diameter, resembling a geodesic dome, inside of which we would see, all neatly stacked together in ordered arrays, miles of coiled chains of the DNA molecules. A huge range of products and raw materials would shuttle along all the manifold conduits in a highly ordered fashion to and from all the various assembly plants in the outer regions of the cell. We would wonder at the level of control implicit in the movement of so many objects down so many seemingly endless conduits, all in perfect unison. We would see all around us in every direction we looked all sorts of robot-like machines. We would notice that the simplest of the functional components of the cell, the protein molecules, were astonishingly complex pieces of molecular machinery. We would see that nearly every feature of our own advanced machines had its analogue in the cell, artificial languages and their decoding systems, memory banks for information storage and retrieval, elegant control systems regulating the automated assembly of parts and components, aerofail safe, proofreading devices utilised for quality control, assembly processes involving the principle of prefabrication and molecular construction. That's Denton from Evolution, a Theory in Crisis. But after 1970, scientists who are unbelievers said the cell has a lot of junk, detritus, hangover from evolutionary processes of billions of years. But dear friends, I want you to notice what happened. In 2012, over 500 scientists belonging to over 30 laboratories around the world discovered that this wasn't a scrap heap. It wasn't junk that surrounded DNA, but it's millions of switches on and off, which control the genes. You say, how can that be? Let me read you from Al Gore's book, The Future. I should warn you, the corporate groups have maligned this man. He spent 6 months living out of a suitcase, going around the world, informing presidents, leaders of the dangers of modern technological procedures. And Al Gore was out to save the world, but corporate structures hated him because he accused them of pollution that was destroying our civilization. So many things said about Al Gore come from corporate groups who are lying. This is a great book. Let me read you what he says about the junk. An unprecedented collaboration in 2012 among more than 500 scientists at 32 different laboratories around the world resulted in a major breakthrough in the understanding of DNA bits that had previously been dismissed as having no meaningful role. They discovered the so-called junk DNA actually contains millions of on-off switches arrayed in extremely complex networks that play crucial roles in controlling the function and the interaction of genes. While this landmark achievement resulted in the identification of the function of 80% of DNA, it also humbled scientists with the realization that they were a very long way from fully understanding how genetic regulation of life really works. Every gene is surrounded by an ocean of regulatory elements in a very complicated three-dimensional structure, only 1% of which has yet been described. Well, many writers have written about it. I won't take time to read you from Stephen Meyer, but in Darwin's Doubt, he says the same thing. And he names the great scientific journals like Nature, which have now agreed there's no junk. What was once thought a scrap heap is magnificently controlling the genes in our DNA system. Jill and I have put together a book over many months called Genesis versus Darwin. You can get it in the usual way through Amazon. It's not expensive, and it discusses the same issues. And so, my friends, I've talked about what you are and what I am. A miraculous collection of trillions of cells that enable us to see and to think, to sex, to jump, to laugh, to argue, to do everything we do, to walk, to talk, to write. If you think that's the result of chance, dear friends, you are not thinking very wisely. Only when we recognize that we are the product of a loving heavenly creator, only then will we find joy in life, meaning and purpose. If not, your life will be only misery and mockery.